Um, so we will have this wonderful webinar to share. I'm Tamara Frolickstein-Appel. I am a job coach for Upglow, located in Chicago. And I'm also the national head of the healthcare team. So we are a group of coaches across the Upglow offices who work together to support healthcare job seekers. We're so happy to see so many of you here today. We have been focusing a lot in this past year and a half about in-job pathways for our healthcare job seekers. And we are so excited to be able to offer training on the CITI program. Can I ask everyone to mute if you are not muted? Thank you. And I can, as host, watch that. I am going to pass this webinar over in a minute to our colleagues at the CITI program. Margaret Rankovic and Eric Kupferberg are going to present and share some information about CITI. I know a lot of you who are here have explored our subscription and some of the training, and some of you have not. So I'm hoping this will be a great opportunity to learn some more, figure out next steps. I will be monitoring the chat. We'll have time for question and answers at the end, and you can put questions as we're going in the chat, or wait until the end. And at this point, I think we're going to pass it on to Margaret and Eric. And thank you so very much for putting together this program. We're so excited to learn more about this CITI resource.
Great, thank you so much for inviting us for this. And we are super happy to be here and presenting for your audience, but thank you so much for working this out. So I just like to say welcome everyone. Today we're going to be talking about using the CITI program training to advance your career in clinical research. It's going to be presented by myself, Margaret Rankovic, and my colleague, Dr. Eric Kupferberg. Just a few quick notes. I'll do a few housekeeping items too. So as Tamar said, the webinar will be recorded. We are not providing any legal advice or legal guidance, and the views expressed are solely those of myself and my co-presenter. Great. And just housekeeping items too. If you want to submit questions, we welcome them, and you can use the Zoom Q&A, and we'll try to get to as many of them as we can. We did look over the questions you all submitted as registrants, and we do try to cover some of them during the presentation too. So you might hear your question answered during our discussion. Just a quick introduction to who we are. As I said, my name is Margaret Rankovic. I'm the Associate Director for Content and Education at the CITI program. I manage the development and maintenance of educational content for different course areas, including human subjects research and clinical research. I've been with the CITI program going on 8 years now. I'm a certified IRB professional, and I have extensive experience in human subjects research. I received my BA and MED in Research, Statistics, and Evaluation from the University of Virginia. My colleague, Dr. Eric Kupferberg, is the Assistant Director of Clinical Research Education. He oversees the CITI program content and clinical research. He holds a PhD from MIT in the history and sociology of science and has an extensive background in healthcare policy. He has built clinical trials management programs for 4 universities. So what we're just going to cover today in this presentation, just so you can kind of follow along, is we want to kind of introduce a CITI program. So who we are, who utilizes our training, what are some types of organizations that use CITI program besides your own, what are some areas of clinical research that have career opportunities, what are a few CITI program courses that can help your professional development, and then finally, once you take the course, how can you share your CITI program course completions with others? So starting off, meet CITI program. Hello, this is our mission statement. So we're actually an acronym here, the Collaborative Institutional Training Initiative, CITI. We are dedicated to promoting the public's trust in the research enterprise by providing high quality, peer-reviewed, web-based educational courses in research, ethics, regulatory oversight, responsible conduct of research, research administration, and other topics pertinent to the interests of member organizations and individual learners. So what do we really do? We are a global leader in research, compliance, and ethics training. We were founded in 2000, so over 20 years ago. Since then, we've helped thousands of organizations provide training to their learners. Subscribers include 90% of the US research universities, most academic medical centers, pharmaceutical companies, and federal agencies and departments. We've served millions of learners. So millions of people have clicked through our modules and completed CITI program. CITI program identifies education and training needs in the communities we serve, and we provide educational materials to meet those needs. We continue to expand to meet the ever-growing needs of clinical research, healthcare, technology, educational organizations. As research has modernized and changed, we have changed our courses too, and developed way more content than we had when we started. We plan to continue to build new content offerings, invest in enhancing the learning, management features and delivery, and continuously improve the quality and value of our program. As we enter our third decade, we will aim to remain a trusted partner and the preeminent choice for organizations to meet their training needs. So our content, we try to make it engaging, comprehensive, and relevant to you. Our main areas are human subjects research, we call that HSR, good clinical practice, GCP, responsible conduct of research, RCR, biosafety, and the clinical research area. Our content comes in different formats, usually the classic text. We do have audio visual options, videos, and webinars. If you want to see the full content collection, you can go to our course catalog online, and that's at our main public site, about.citiprogram.org. This presentation is focused on clinical research areas, but we also have several content areas with courses in the ones listed on the right-hand side of the slide in that kind of like beige box. But let's focus on the clinical research area here. Our clinical research courses include biomedical PI, clinical research and introduction, clinical research coordinator, clinical trial billing compliance, good clinical practice, good laboratory practice, good manufacturing practices, FDA inspections, and protocol registration and results summary disclosure in clinicaltrials.gov. We will highlight a few of these courses later on in the presentation and tell you a little bit more about them and who they're for. I just want to note that your organizational affiliation will give you access to the courses they have selected, but we always have other courses available to individuals for purchase through the independent learner option on our website, and they're priced per course for individuals. So who uses CITI program? So as I said, we've had millions. We have 8 million learners with over 16 million completions since we started. CITI program is used by thousands of academic institutions, government agencies, and commercial organizations around the world for their training. Just a few highlights: we're used by the top 25 ranked hospitals in the US, the top 25 best national universities, and all of the NIH's over 50 CTSA program hubs. Subscribers also include tech companies, pharma, CROs, and device research companies. So for real world application here, I keep saying a lot of organizations use CITI program training, but here's another way to see that usage. I know this audience has a lot of job seekers in it, so I wanted to show how CITI program is used by companies hiring for clinical research positions. I did a quick job search on Indeed.com. What I did is I typed in Boston, Mass, within 25 miles of there, and then the keyword CITI training. I got 51 hits right away that included that keyword CITI training. And I do want to note that there are common usage reference to CITI program where you may see the training referred to, and I've got the list here, just some common ones like CITI training, CITI, lowercase CITI, CITI certification, CITI certificates, protection of human subjects, and then parentheses CITI training. So it's going to be referred to as different things. Just because it's been around so long, I think people refer to it more commonly. So in job postings, several organizations specified as a requirement that candidates must have completion of CITI training within 6 months of hire and recertification every 3 years thereafter. So organizations are definitely using us, and by taking courses, you're going to be able to put that on your resume that you have this CITI training. Another place to see what courses may be best to prepare you for a position is the organizational SOPs. So if you're looking at for a specific position at an organization, you can Google them, look for their public facing documents like an IRB website, find the SOP and see which training they are requiring for that position. Now I'm going to pass the mic over to my colleague Eric to discuss clinical research growth and career opportunities.
Hello. Next slide, please. Margaret, if you could advance. Thank you. There's incredible growth in clinical research area. I think most people know this, but the numbers are actually kind of remarkable. There are more than 34,000 clinical trials being conducted at any time in the United States, any one time in the United States. There's a 65% growth in the number of clinical trials from 2015 to 2019, and that growth is expected to continue throughout the 2020s. There's a 9% annual growth rate in monthly job postings. So the job increases are keeping pace almost with the number of clinical trials. But what we're finding is that the number of clinical trials is outpacing the number of job hires. So the rapid growth leads to companies vying for a limited talent pool. And there's a gap between demand for trained workers and available workforce. And that gap is growing. Next slide. Some of the good parts for us today is that the entry barriers to the field are decreasing. More than 1/3 of jobs posting require no previous clinical experience. Now, if you have clinical experience from another country, that would count towards the clinical research fields that I'll be talking about today. So your past experience has an immediate application. Only 51% of the jobs require a bachelor's degree, typically in the biological or health sciences. So if you have a more advanced degree or if you have experience within the health sciences field, this will come in handy in finding a job. But what we'll also note is that for career changers, some of the courses that we offer are a great way of entering into the clinical research field. The top job titles in this area are clinical research coordinator, which we'll be talking about, clinical research associate, clinical trials manager, clinical trials specialist, clinical trials assistant, and research nurse. And one of the questions that we had is under what titles are we seeing our jobs? And the largest number of jobs are clinical research coordinator and clinical trial assistant, which is slightly below in terms of training from a clinical research coordinator. Now, what we know is that the settings for research are diverse. Clinical research is being conducted in such areas as in academic medical centers, in hospitals, and in freestanding clinics. Supporting services can also be found in biopharmaceutical and medical device firms and contract research organizations, which are hired by these biopharmaceutical firms. The roles for clinical staff are equally diverse. According to the Association of Clinical Research Professionals, clinical staff are responsible for the management, coordination, recruitment, and treatment of patient volunteers and the administration of clinical trials, biomedical research, and innovation. The titles and job descriptions vary greatly, with over 50 different related job titles and over 500 associated knowledge, skills, and abilities required of clinical research associates, clinical research coordinators across some 102 tasks with 12 competency domains. In other words, what the field is looking for is a broad range of talents. And so if you have been trained in one field or another, chances are that expertise that you have will be of immediate application. Next slide, please. So, what are the career opportunities in clinical research enterprise? There are on-site jobs and remote jobs. And what I mean by on-site jobs are those that are at the clinic, at the hospital, at the research location. And these on-site jobs might be a field or on-site clinical research associate, a data entry coordinator, a primary investigator, a site coordinator, which we'll be talking about in a moment, and a patient recruiter. The new on-site jobs recently are site technology support and physician local to patient alliance. What we know is that the trials have been changing from being located at one particular job site to becoming decentralized. Excuse me for a second while I get rid of this spam phone call coming in. And examples of new roles that are being created as a result of some of these changes our site technology support, which would be sort of a super user for all trial technology and would troubleshoot connectivity issues between one particular platform and another. Other roles for technology trained people in this field who aren't trained in the health sciences are application specialists, business intelligence, who are select and manage tech vendors, clinical trial management systems managers who set up all the studies, at least from a technological point of view, and a technology consultant who ensures that all the tech is coordinated. So what we know is that you don't need to be trained in a health sciences field in order to find employment in the health sciences. Next slide. Now, what we know is that there are roles that you don't actually have to be located at the hospital or at the clinic. There's traditional remote roles and new remote roles. In the traditional remote roles are an in-house clinical research associate, a data manager, a project manager, a patient call center employee, a medical monitor, a regulatory affairs associate, and a home health nurse. All of those are participating in the clinical research enterprise, but from away from the hospital or the clinic. We know that there are new remote roles, including tech trainer for CROs, for clinical research organizations, a remote trial coordinator, and a virtual patient guide, along with a decentralized investigator who's not on site. Let me talk a little bit about one of these roles, which is a virtual patient guide. A virtual patient guide assists patients in navigating through the trials via phones or videos. So if the patient is being conducted or the trial is being conducted in a remote sense, the patient still needs to be able to interact with the coordinator of the trial or the trial itself. The virtual patient guide resolves queries in patient data, and it's critical for the role of the decentralized clinical trial. The candidates for this position are those coordinators who want to work remotely and the patient call center staff that can be upskilled. So in other words, it is a fairly easy field to enter in to a virtual patient guide as sort of a front door to the clinical research enterprise. Next slide. The pay is fairly good and getting better for clinical research roles. Patient recruiter, those people who get patients to enroll as participants in clinical trials, make on average of $61,000 for average pay. A clinical research coordinator, which we'll talk about in just a moment, makes roughly about $65,000. And the entry pay is about $54,000 to $55,000. The clinical research associate on average makes $86,000 with an entry pay at about $72,000. And the clinical data manager makes about $114,000 with an entry pay of about $89,000. So what we're finding is because of the demand in the field in clinical research that the pays are fairly good and getting better. And of course, these averages vary from one region of the country to another. What we're finding out is that in the West Coast and Northeast, along with the Chicago area, you'll find that pay is fairly high. North Carolina is another area that the pay is fairly high compared to the rest of the country. Next slide.
Great. So I am going to take the presentation back now, and we're going to kind of talk through, Eric and I, some of the different CITI program courses that can be used for professional development. We're going to give a brief overview of the course and who the suggested audiences are. But for more information about any of these courses that we mentioned, you can always find complete course catalog pages on our website that will have detailed information, even down to the module level and what each module covers. Starting with the first one, I'm going to start with Human Subjects Research, HSR, because this is the most commonly used course that we have, as most roles in research would require some basic human subjects protection training. This is mainly due to regulatory requirements, US federal policies, sponsors that adhere to GCP, and institutional and IRB policies that require some kind of human subjects protection training. It was the first course that CITI program ever created, and it continues to be one of the most utilized across organizations. HSR provides core training in human subjects research and includes the historical development of human subject protections, ethical issues, and current regulatory and guidance information. Our HSR is US focused and will provide a good overview of the US Common Rule and its application, as well as how IRBs work here and general research roles and responsibilities. HSR also covers topics such as informed consent, reporting requirements to federal agencies, vulnerable populations, and conflicts of interest. It really is foundational training designed for anyone involved in research, from investigators to IRB members to research team and staff to even the statisticians. I'm going to hand this over to Eric now, and he'll talk about GCP.
The GCP is good clinical practices, and it covers the International Council for Harmonization guidelines and the United States Food and Drug Administration regulations. Our GCP courses examine the responsibilities and the expectations for the conduct, monitoring, reporting, and documentation of clinical trials. It identifies the responsibilities for the primary investigator and also for the sponsor, which is a drug company or device company, typically. It describes how to detect and report adverse events as they occur in clinical trials and details the development of new biomedical products. Now, CITI program, GCP training is used by over 1,500 institutions, including many of the leading hospitals, academic medical centers, universities, healthcare companies, and such to meet their GCP training needs. And what we're finding is that if you're working in the field of biomedical research, often it's required that you have some GCP training, and CIT program is the leader in that particular training. Next slide.
Great, so now I'm going to discuss the Biomedical Principal Investigator course. This is a role-based course, and this course reviews the important role of the biomedical investigator, which can also be referred to as the clinical investigator or principal investigator, PI, in a clinical investigation that complies with federal regulations and good clinical practice standards. This course is designed for individuals new to that investigator role or those seeking a focused role-based course. It's kind of an interesting course. We kind of have a fictional narrative of an investigator responding to an FDA warning letter and reflecting on his imperfect past practices of supervision and conduct, and that's interspersed throughout the course. So this narrative establishes the context for the discussion of regulatory requirements and GCP standards. Further, this narrative combined with the course content provides practical information in the areas of supervision, delegation, management, informed consent, reports, and communication. So all those investigator responsibilities. This course also provides supplemental tools available for download, including example standard operating procedures, SOPs, checklists, and templates. It is designed so the audience is for those individuals new to the investigator role or those seeking a focused role-based course. It can be used for professional development of investigators to supplement their basic HSR and GCP training. And now, Eric, do you want to talk about CRC?
Yes, clinical research coordinators. We have two courses available for clinical research coordinators, the foundations course and our advanced covering. What does a CRC do? It plans research. It's involved with funding, financial management, and budgeting. A CRC works with institutional review boards. It's involved in protocol reviews and approvals. A CRC is intimately involved with informed consent for participants, also involved in site management and quality assurance, particularly involved with project management, and preventing and identifying misconduct and noncompliance. One of the key roles of a clinical research coordinator is to recruit subjects and to make sure that they're retained within studies. Our course provides tailored training to the CRC's role in conducting clinical trials. The suggested audience for our course is any clinical research professional looking to make a career change, or those who come from a biomedical or biological sciences background looking to make a change. What we know is that entry barriers for CRCs are decreasing. So many of the CRC jobs require no prior experience in the clinical research area. Next slide.
Great. So I'm going to finish our little course overview with this FDA inspections from site preparation to response. So this is another course that you guys have available. Being ready for an FDA inspection requires coordination, organization, and preparation by pretty much everyone at the research site: investigators, the sites, sponsors, CROs, and IRBs. This course prepares investigators and sites for an FDA bioresearch monitoring program inspection by reviewing the concrete steps to take before, during, and after the inspection. This FDA inspections course explains the inspection process and terminology, provides strategies to prepare for an inspection, including the review of regulatory guidance and manuals, actively preparing the study team, and performing mock inspections. It reviews the importance of the Form FDA 482 and how to coordinate and communicate during an inspection, as well as next steps and strategies for responding to a Form FDA 483. The course discusses how to create a CAPA plan to address findings. The suggested audiences are clinical investigators, key study personnel, PIs, research managers, research site representatives, researchers, sponsors, CROs, and sub-investigators. So now we're going to move to the next part of this presentation about course completions. So once you've taken a course, how do you share your documentation? In this section, I'm going to discuss the different completion documentation types and how to share them easily. But before I do that, I just want to touch on two things. First, I want to take a quick sidestep here on talk about transfer credit. So for example, you take your HSR course through your organization here, but then you do get hired by institution B, and they require an HSR CITI program course. You could potentially receive credit for the modules you've already completed at this previous organization. That's a really huge benefit because that means potentially you wouldn't have to retake the same training again. Since so many institutions use CITI program training, you would likely get hired at a place that might require CITI training. So the point of this is don't hesitate to take training now because you might get the transfer credit. It all depends on some other eligibility. It's got to be the exact same module. It's got to be within the second organization's policies for what they would accept. We do have a helpful support article on this on our website that will walk you through this process. The next little side step I want to take too is there's going to be variations in our subscribing organizations' courses and content. Most organizations use our recommended setup, but there's a lot of variation. The courses might have different names on the organizational policy page or what they're calling them or what modules they put in. For example, institution A may have a learner group named GCP and may require that learners complete the GCP US FDA focus course. However, institution B may have a learner group named Biomedical Researchers Group B and require learners to complete the modules from our GCP ICH course. This is just something to be aware of, as when you speak with organizations and they say, we use CITI training and all of our staff is CITI certified in GCP or something, there may be some variation in the actual modules and content they're referring to and what their completion requirements are. Okay, now to completion documentation. So you've completed a CITI program course. How do you share that? So after you complete a course, you can view, print, or save your documentation. And we offer two options, your completion report or a completion certificate. So here I wanted to show just kind of like a brief example. You won't be able to read the text, it's really small, but on the left, you see a completion certificate. It kind of looks like a diploma. And on the right is the completion report. Completion reports are 2 pages. Excuse me. So the completion certificate is a diploma-like document, and it can be used for GCP mutual recognition documentation or to upload to the Transeller Biopharma's site investigator platform. Completion report is a transcript-like document. It includes quiz scores, it's more detailed, it says exactly which modules you completed and what scores you got, etc. But both are accessible to you and both can be shared, saved, or printed. So we do have a support center article available that would lead you through the steps with screenshots on how to access and share your completions. But basically your completion record screen would look like this. And you see those little blue tabs at the bottom. So on the left, completion report, you see view print or copy link. And on the right, completion certificate, you can view print, copy link, or add to LinkedIn. The add to LinkedIn button is available for the completion certificates only. So if you want to share the link, so each completion report and completion certificate has a unique verify link you can send to others to share your results, or you can use it for online posting. Each completion report contains a completely unique verify link. So this is something you can definitely share, but just be forewarned too that anyone who has these links can download and print a PDF of either the report or the certificate, like whatever you shared. Log into CITI program would not be required to access these links. So just be careful with whom you share them. A verify link to the multi-part completion report, which is the transcript-like one, includes the quiz and associated scores. And a verify link to the completion certificate, which is the diploma-like one, just includes that diploma, like the course name information with no quiz or grade information. Sharing your course completions on LinkedIn and social media is like super simple. It's just that blue button for the completion certificate. You click on it and it links, you can, if you're signed into your LinkedIn, it just pops up and you can put it under your licenses and certifications. Here's a screenshot from mine. I completed the COVID-19 back to campus course and then I hit share and it just went on my licenses and certifications section of my LinkedIn profile. We do have a support center article I link at the bottom that like goes through the steps on how to do that. So in summary today for our presentation, your organization is offering you access to many CITI program courses. Many clinical research organizations utilize CITI program and require CITI program training for job applicants. You can complete these courses for professional development and to expand your knowledge of different topics of interest. And it really is simple to add your course completions to social media and your resume or CV. For additional information or if you have questions, feel free to contact CITI program support either by email or by phone. And we also have a lot of self-help articles I've referred to on the support site. CITI program also, we have social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, if you want news of upcoming webinars or new courses. We also have a YouTube channel for demo snippets of our past webinars. And now we are ready for questions.
Hello, thank you. Zuhair, can you put yourself on mute, please? We are so excited. So I want to, first of all, thank you both for this wonderful, wonderful information. I want to answer upfront a few questions and then I'm going to throw them to you. So if you are an Upglow job seeker who has not registered for CITI yet to access this program and want to, please reach out to your job coach and we can help you access the program and get to be part of our subscription and our learning. I also want to say thank you to my colleagues, Cecilia and Emily, our skilling team at Upwardly Global, who are here today and who have enabled us to access this wonderful resource. We made a subscription last March, and it will be, we'll be considering as we approach March of next year if we want to continue. So I'm so excited that so many people are engaging and participating, and want to say I also want your feedback. All of the courses that we discussed today are not part of our current subscription. As Margaret and Eric mentioned, I believe you can access those for a fee at this point, but we can also look at, if we continue this next year, changing some of the courses that we have subscribed to. So I appreciate all your excellent questions and thoughts. I'm gonna, I've tried to note them. I think I answered some of the general ones about accessing CITI. I am going to now say, I think a lot of people are asking also questions about if they can get a job in clinical research based on CITI. Our hope and belief is that you can. We are working on this. We know that we have job seekers who are getting jobs in clinical research every day. So we are trying to figure it out. I think, as Eric mentioned in his slides, there's huge demand in the field. The barriers are coming down. If you are trained in healthcare, you have some of the overall clinical knowledge and expertise that you will need. And then we're hoping to combine it with CITI training to help you move forward. But that's something you're going to work with more specifically with your job coach. So we're not expecting our presenters today to be able to answer everyone's specific question. And with that, I wanted to ask one of the questions about one of the participants asked about training on business intelligence and artificial intelligence in clinical research.
Sure, I'll take that one. There are two different roles. Business intelligence for a clinical research site would be the person who helps find and evaluate technology providers and vendors. Business intelligence for a clinical site also would be responsible for looking for potential sponsors from drug companies for their services. So on the one hand, they would be coordinating with companies that are directly related to the clinical site. Another is that they would be coordinating or looking for those who could sponsor their work. In terms of artificial intelligence, this might be the possibility of being a sub-investigator within a particular trial. It's a high in demand area in AI in biomedical research. I can't speak to any specific jobs, but I can tell you that if you do a quick search on Indeed, you'd be able to find a number of hits for AI and biological or biomedical research at the same time.
I would like to speak to the AI content we currently have offered at CITI program. We do have a human subjects research and AI webinar that's available. We have a tech ethics and regulation course that covers AI and ML. So we do have content available that covers these concepts as well as they apply to clinical research and research.
Thank you. That's great information. A number of people have asked a little bit about the style of the training. I know it's hard to say how much time it takes or if the expectation is memorization. I wonder if you could talk a little bit to that, a number of those questions about just the style and the access to the courses. And
sure, I can speak generally to how we develop content. All of our content is going to have learning objectives stated up front. And then there's going to be some kind of assessment at the end as well. We wouldn't assess on like rote memorization stuff. This is about concepts and learning objectives, like discuss this regulation, apply it, things like that. The content is generally text-based modules. We have made some of our content also available audio-visual format as well. So that would be kind of like clicking through a slide presentation that's narrated, that has some interactive features as well. And that is would be in the human subjects research and GCP and other courses.
thank you very much. I see, I think a number of people have asked about how long it takes to complete courses, but I imagine it varies from course to course. I know each course has different numbers of modules. Is there any more that you could say about that, or?
Yeah, as a general rule of thumb, each module is going to be around 30 minutes to complete. Some will be quicker depending on your own knowledge and experience with the content. You might go through it quickly, or it might take you longer depending like, oh, this is brand new content. I've never seen this before. It's going to go a little slower, but we try to stick within that 30-minute range generally.
And if people have taken a module and not passed and then later passed, how is that reflected on their completion certificate?
So on the certificate, it'll just say that you completed and passed the course. On the completion report, that's that transcript-like one, and the one page is going to be kind of like locked with like those quiz scores, and the transcript page, you can like repeat your quizzes and get your 100% if you'd like, and that's where it'll be locked there.
Thank you. I am going through the messages. Here is a question. What CITI courses are needed for clinical data manager positions?
Eric, do you want to take that one?
Sure. The clinical data management positions, we have a new course on clinical research and introduction that has a few modules on clinical data management in it. what we'd find is that if you came from a background of clinical areas or came from a data management background, you'd be in high demand right now. That's one of the positions, clinical data manager, that is quite a number of openings each and every time you look at sort of Monster or Indeed or ZipRecruiter. So that's a highly sought after position.
Great. And I want to say once again that, you know, we want you to utilize, I could quickly go over the courses that we do have in our subscription now. If people are interested, we have access to biomedical data or specimens only research. We have biomedical research. We have the CRC Advanced and the CRC Foundation course. We have FDA inspections, the Good Clinical Practice, GCP, for social and behavioral research best practices, and for clinical investigations of devices, and for GCP for trials, clinical trials with investigational drugs and biologics. Oops. We have a HIPAA training, Health Privacy Act, and information and privacy and security training, an institutional signatory official human subject research training, the IRB chair training, public health research, revised common rule, and social and behavioral research. And as I've said, if you want access to these trainings and you haven't gotten it yet, please reach out to me or your job coach and we can help set you up with that. And yeah, any other questions? I do see a question here that says, what courses are needed for CRC?
I can go ahead and take that. Our CRC Foundations course and CRC Advanced are really great courses to provide the kind of background that you need to enter into a clinical research coordinator position.
I would say, Eric, though, too, that we would expect you to have an HSR and a GCP course as prereqs to take the CRC course, because the CRC is a role-based course, but you would still need that foundational knowledge from like the basic HSR or the GCP. Eric, did you want to speak more about the CRC?
No, you're exactly right about the foundations that you would need in GCP and HSR. The CRC course is a role-based course, so it describes fairly clearly what kinds of activities you'd be involved in your position as a CRC. We also know that the entry barriers to becoming a CRC are decreasing with no clinical research experience required. They are entry-level positions, and after 2 years of experience being a CRC, you can become a clinical research associate, which is someone who oversees clinical research coordinators from a sort of administrative perspective, and it's a slightly higher paying job.
Wonderful, thank you. Linda, I see you have a hand raised. Would you like to unmute and ask a question?
Yes. Thank you. First, thank you for all the information. It's helpful. I have one question, because when you apply for CRC, asking you for certification, what is the way you take the certification for resource coordinator role?
Well, there's two different things at play here. The first is a CITI Program certificate. And the second is certification as being a clinical research coordinator. The second is a certification through one of the two professional societies, and you have to be a CRC for 1,000 and 1,500 hours, depending upon which organization. So that's something that you get after you've been working as a CRC for a while. At the front door is what we offer, is the kind of training that would show that you have a background in being a CRC, or at least having a CRC foundations and advanced knowledge. So the certificate's a little bit different than certification. And one that we would offer at the front door, the CRC certification would be somewhere further down the line.
Thank you so much. I think that's really helpful. As we have said, you know, we are trying to open this pathway for folks in our program, for our job seekers, and we are learning more and more about this. But I love the idea of using the CITI training as a door into this world. We know there are a huge number of different roles, and different organizations have different requirements. We are working hard to open this door and figure out how to help you all advance in this field. So keep in dialogue and keep posting and sharing your questions directly with me or your job coach. And we are hoping to see more progress in this area. I'm gonna make one final ask if you have, oh, a good question. I see a question. Yes, you can get the presentation and the discussion. I am going to share that out either today or tomorrow with everyone who's registered, and we will add the presentation to our YouTube channel, where we're keeping our all of our webinars in the healthcare community of practice. And like I said, we are really excited to share this information, and incredibly thankful to the folks at the CITI program for sharing this learning and continuing the conversation with us. But yes, everyone who is here and who registered will get a copy of the recording and the slides. All right. I see another question about the experience. I'm not sure that I think Eric and Margaret have answered this really well. We just, keep trying. And I know for a lot of our folks have also found success in opening the door to clinical research jobs through volunteering, specifically at local universities and other clinics that are doing clinical research. I know also during COVID, that's been a lot harder, but I think those opportunities are opening up. So another pathway to combine both your CITI program training and your experience and to build some real clinical research skills. Does anyone else have any thoughts about that, Eric or Margaret?
I would like to go ahead and answer one of the questions that just came up about there are a lot of clinical research coordinator jobs that require a specific amount of experience of at least 1 year, which is a major obstacle. For CRC jobs, in my personal experience, that 1 year of experience requirement is a wish list. They would love to have someone with 1 year of experience, but not an absolute a requirement that you need to have 1 year of experience. I think the other thing is that they're looking to hire people who have some knowledge about what a CRC does. And while we can't guarantee in any way, shape, or form that CITI training would get you a job, it would provide you with the kind of foundational knowledge that company organizations are looking to hire from their seekers.
Thank you. That is very, very helpful. I think that is true. And I will say once again, we are watching our job seekers get jobs, and they are getting jobs with limited or no experience in the field, using their healthcare expertise and knowledge and the CITI training to help show that they're interested. We know there's a lot of concern around hiring, that especially for the doctors in our program, that they're not looking for long-term work in clinical research. And so I think doing this training and incorporating this language into your resume, into your interviewing, will help you make the case that you are indeed seeking a long-term career in clinical research. So that is another thought. Before we say goodbye, any final thoughts from our presenters?
It was a joy, absolute joy to be doing this. Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you, and thank you for the audience for all the nice words we saw coming in through the chat.
And we will say goodbye, wish everyone a happy Thursday. And Upglow folks, this will be coming in your email soon. Thank you all.
Great, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Goodbye.
you. Thank you so much. Thank you.